Hey, welcome to the Ankeny podcast. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm not really sure what this podcast is going to be. At first, I kind of thought that it was going to be mostly family-owned businesses, entrepreneurs, talking to them and just telling you what's going on and around town. I do know that the Firehouse, I think on Wednesday night, the kiddos on May 23rd can go from 6 to 8 p.m. And I think they can do things like check out the fire engines and put on the gear and things like that, so that seems pretty cool. But I wanted to talk about something that was at Northeast Elementary School. I have three daughters, all in the first grade, and it was just so phenomenal that I really just I wanted to share it. The first thing, when you talk about moving somewhere or moving to Ankeny or moving anywhere and deciding where you want to live, you look at the schools. And the schools in Ankeny, if you go by the greatschools.org, which is one of those sites that kind of rates them, it gives you from a 7 to a 9. As I was kind of reading through some of the comments, I realized that those comments are archaic. The ones that were negative or somewhere in the, I want to say 2010, 2011, certainly not reflecting what it is today. So I wanted to first go through kind of the ratings that I did on this, and I recommend that as a good Ankenyan, you rate the schools to let other people know how good the schools are, because how much your home is worth probably depends more on the school and the ability of people to get jobs than any other two factors that I could probably think of. First, let's see. So overall, 5 stars, absolutely. 2, the school has an effective approach to homework. My kids are first graders, but the stuff that they send home, it always makes sense. And I'll give you the most recent one, which was this activity for their leadership day today, where my daughters, and it was completely voluntary, they were asked to integrate the 7 habits of highly effective kids into some kind of meaningful project. And what it was, or what it turned out to be, was me having to take pictures of them doing something right. And so many times, it's hard for us to make sure that we say thank you and appreciate when they do things right. Maybe we're a little too far on the saying when they do something wrong. And I just loved being able to take pictures of them doing, things that are right, and then them explaining to me, okay, well, how does that fit into being proactive? How does that fit into synergizing and all of those things? So I said homework is meaningful and challenges our kids at the appropriate grade level. Teachers at this school are effective. They care so much about the students. They keep in constant contact with us. Some of the emails are incredibly rich with information, pedagogy, all of those things that you would want to do. We read with our kids, or they do math every single night, and then we give them their iPads, which is maybe not the best thing because I know about the blue light and sleeping, but they seem to pass out no problem. But as the teachers are absolutely effective, they're phenomenal. They absolutely care about the students. Leadership, it's second to none. I mean, they just had their first leadership day using the 7 habits of highly effective kids. One of the kids, there were about 30 parents there, I want to say, for the leadership day. It was kind of an open house, and we were in groups of about 3 or 4, and the students were taking us through. And they were going through the habits. They were taking us to the reading charts. They read like 2.2 million, was it 2.2 million minutes or something like that? Just incredible stretch targets that they met and beat. The leadership is absolutely effective at the school. The school develops strong character in its students, like integrity, compassion, and respect. Sometimes my kids, I'm just like, wow, they said thank you, or wow, they, did this or they did that, and they helped each other, and they come home better than they come in. So I think that, it's on us to do even more to work with that. But they're respectful, they understand leadership goals, they understand what it means to be a member of the community. Supports students with learning differences. Yeah, if somebody's falling a little bit behind, they have the resources to help somebody with reading or other things. So definitely support students with learning differences. The school deals effectively with bullying. Yeah, it's absolutely not tolerated at this school. And the way that they would deal with it is also they're very positive in the way that they deal with anything. And then how would I rate my experience? I just said that, I do come from an area where private schools can cost like $30,000 a year for a grade school child. And this school absolutely beats it hands down. This morning, and I'll talk about it in a minute, but when you hear 500 students, at the top of their lungs screaming, believe it, achieve it. Oh gosh, I'm going to forget the other one. I'll come back to that. Anyway, maybe I'm the one that needs to learn it, but it's like believe it, learn it, achieve it. But they're screaming this at the top of their lungs and so ready for the day. So tremendous, tremendous work. But I definitely recommend that you get on that greatschools.org and submit a review because really it comes down to us and what our opinion is. And if things are great, then you should say things are great. And I think that the teachers that have worked so hard for you deserve that as well. But let me talk about the Leadership Day. It was actually, I want to say about 9 to 12. So I want to say 3 or 4 hours. We went actually to a breakfast where they highlighted the projects where the students did the projects that it was voluntary, had to do with those 7 habits, and a bunch of us parents got to go through that. And when I've got 3 kids, it makes it's a lot easier because it's like I've got all 3 of them there. I don't have one in junior high, one in high school, one in elementary school. So it was just really phenomenal to get to see the projects the kids have done. And I heard this expression, the kids run this school, and what they mean by that is not in the pejorative, they mean it actually in the opposite, which is the kids are empowered in this school, and they truly are. As you were going through, you could see that they're leading everything. And I'll talk about it in a sec, but with the assembly, it was the kids that were leading the assembly. It wasn't adults talking to the kids, it was kids bringing the adults up. So let's talk about it. So I'm putting this on the podcast because, KCCI isn't going to cover an elementary school assembly, but they really should. I mean, it was phenomenal. And it's been a while since I've been on bleachers, certainly elementary school bleachers, the 70s, wow. But let's talk about the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Kids, the program that they've been working on, I believe, all year. And actually, it has to be more than a year because they had a Sharpen the Saw event last year. But, for example, one of my daughters, was proactive. She was feeding the dog, and then she was putting her backpack away, and then she was feeding the dog before playing after school for another one of them. And then we went to the science center and did one of those Friday afternoon things where you get to kind of do a crafty project that has to do with science. And, it was beginning with the end in mind. I said, what do you want to do? And she had this picture of GI dogs where a dog was running from a fire. So we created this thing that pulled the dog away from the fire, and it had to do with physics, and it was just kind of neat. And then working with her sister to put away the dishes. And these are first graders. I'm talking to first graders about the 7 habits, and they're getting it, and it's phenomenal. And then the third, she helps her sister buckle her seatbelt. She created kind of this dolphins kissing one at the science center, and again, she synergized with her sister to put away the dishes. And I don't want to talk about my kids for, or take away from the Leadership Day. But it was just that, here are kids coming home, learning about these habits, getting an understanding of what it means to lead and what it means to be a part of a community. The Awesome Assembly was awesome. I got to figure out how to put the audio on, but if I can, I'm going to get a jag roar. So a jag roar, if you've never heard it, it's clap, clap, roar. And when you have 500 kids doing it, it is phenomenal. A jag roar! A jag roar! Just phenomenal to hear that kind of energy. And I guess, as we kind of go around, we drop our kids off and then we go to work and then we think, what did they do? Oh, they sit around, they learn some, then they eat, then they play, then they learn some more, and then they come home or they go to after school, and that's it. Instead, I'm seeing like Hilton Coliseum where it's, I don't know. It was like cyclone power. Like it was that kind of just energy. And with the acoustics in that auditorium having 500 people, it really sounded like a basketball game or a football game. But instead of 500 people roaring for a football team or a basketball team, they're roaring for somebody doing like 100 miles at like the lunchtime running or other academic things. So there was something that says, no one's ever, there's a movie quote that said something like, 80,000 people never came to see somebody do a chemistry experiment. Well, at this school, 500 people will applaud you for doing a chemistry experiment. So that was just amazing. A Jaguar! 3 million. We read 20 minutes before each bedtime, and we do math and then the iPads, but just phenomenal. Tegan's Miss Sports class got most gold stars from, I think it was kindergarten to second, and then there was another teacher that got it for third through fifth, I think. And just amazing how many things that they just acknowledge the hard work that these kids are doing. The Recess Running Club, this was the number, I think it was 4,585 miles. And then they have a Girls on the Run 5K, so an empowerment group there as well. They had a community leader come in, so it was a Des Moines firefighter, and he talked about leadership, and he kind of went off script. It was kind of cool. He went out so he goes out, and the biggest fear any teacher has or any speaker has is that people won't be engaged. And he said, does anyone want to ask me a question? And easily 50 or 100 hands went up. And, after he answered maybe 5 or 10 questions, he realized he couldn't, answer them all in the morning. But here's somebody who, he fought a fire this morning and made it to this event. So it was just phenomenal as well. The Pogo Stick Challenge, it was kind of like, I think there's this show called Beat Bobby Flay, who's like a super chef or something like that. So Miss Owen, obviously a tremendous athlete. And the students got a challenge to do that, and she didn't pull any punches, but I think the students did win that one. The Lighthouse students, so those are the groups that take us on tour, and they really understood their roles, and they knew exactly where they were going to be. I know she's worked Principal Owens worked one-on-one with them. I think I saw them working one-on-one yesterday, but just phenomenal how these students know their school, are proud of their school, and are able to articulate the value of what they're doing to adults. And it was just amazing. And then we got to go in a media center where we got to see about the clubs that I think 4th and 5th graders are in. I got to see a number of projects, and then another room was seeing leadership binders. So it's so often that maybe it's a weight loss goal or some kind of goal that we have, and we don't bother to write down where we were, and we don't see our progress. And these leadership binders create a subjective and objective data for the binder, and it's just phenomenal that you can, at the end of the year, see this is where your student was, this is where they are now. Look at the change, and it's just amazing what you see. But it was, I guess what was more amazing was here's a first grader who's telling me exactly, okay, well, here's my literacy, here's my math, and explaining this is exactly, what I want to. This is exactly what I'm learning, how I'm learning it, and it just shows that Ankeny is just one of the best places to have kids in school. So believe it, lead it, achieve it. To hear 500 people shout that 2 or 3 times, I tell you, you will absolutely be transformed. So thank you to everyone at Northeast who works so hard every day, such long days. Thanks so much for taking care of my kids and taking care of the Ankeny kids as well.
Support for this episode comes from the audiobook Memorizing Pharmacology, a relaxed approach. With over 9,000 sales in the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia, it's the go-to resource to ease the pharmacology challenge. Available on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon.com, in print, ebook, and audiobook.